everyone, welcome to the Fairy Vibrant Makeup channel. Today we're going to be trying out the Venus 2 from Lime Crime. I'm so excited. This is the Venus XL2. So I had done a video on the Venus 1 palette, which has been my favorite go-to palette of all time. Beautiful, warm red tones. I think this is going to be my go-to Valentine look one. I think I might create some Valentine's looks. I'm not quite sure yet. I've been wanting to do it and I feel like I have to do it. So I'll have to see if at work we're going to do some themes so that we can be more or less in, you know, have themes and then I'll have reason to really use it. But I really love this palette. It's so beautiful. It blends beautiful. It feels beautiful. And if you're not familiar with Lime Crime, I know there's been some controversy surrounding Lime Crime in the past, but I absolutely love their palettes. I have pretty much every single eyeshadow palette that they come out with. I ever tried was the Venus palette. So this is just a smaller version. This is their first palette. It actually grew popularity just because of those red tones, and that's when the reds were really in. This blends beautifully. Is it a fully functioning palette? Meh, not so much, just because it has it has a couple transition shades. No, not really a matte highlight. This one is going to be more of a satin, which I do use in the brow bone, but I don't use it to set my primer. This red, as you can see, I've put a pretty big dent in it because this is probably the most beautiful cranberry red you'll ever come across, and it blends like a dream, and it's not dry. So that's what I like about this palette, is that the colors are easy to blend and they're not dry. So I really, really love this one. So I ended up getting the Venus 2 palette, which the color palette in this one is not my favorite. It's very fall-esque, very interesting. The mustard shade is really, really nice. I do like that one because it is a kind of like beautiful mustard. This, I don't feel like this blue belongs in this palette, but I mean, it is fun to use off and on. So there's like a sky blue right there. Not my favorite palette. It's too fall-esque right now. I'm not feeling the vibes in it, so I really don't use it as much. And then I picked up the Venus 3 palette. So this one is more purple tone. Now this one is not as functioning. Like, there's a lot of pale colors. This crease shade is absolutely gorgeous. It's like a mauve. It's absolutely gorgeous. This one's one of my favorite crease shades to use because it's like a pinky mauve, light pinky purple mauve. And these ones are a little harder to pick up. As you can see, hardly any color comes on there. They're very, very stiff in the pan, so you can barely see it. They're not very pigmented. The purple is beautiful. I'm very, very keen on purples, even though it's not my favorite color. It's like a purple pink, but it's very beautiful. This palette, I feel, is more or less for like spring. It's very soft, very beautiful, but I did like using this palette a lot better than the Venus 2. Then I picked up the Venus XL. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely fully functioning. I wish they came out with this palette in the beginning because it has everything. Cranberries, it has corals. Like, these are amazing colors and they are pigmented. So there they are right there. There's some coral, deeper colors. This is very pinky red. So it's very, very beautiful, very, very warm shades. Absolutely my favorite go-to palette in my entire collection. And then I ventured out because they came out with the 10-year anniversary palette, and that one was quite interesting. Very hard to work with. I like this green. This green is actually very, very good. It's a very decent green. This color, however, was just kind of lackluster. It's more or less a highlight, so you can barely see it. I was hoping it would be this color, but it's more or less a highlight. So I do use it on my cheekbones or in my inner corner to pop something. This is a very rainbow palette, so if you're not into rainbows, this is not something I would recommend, but these are very fun colors. Did perform pretty well. Now, I have high expectations for the Venus 2 XL. Like, it's I don't know. When I first saw it online, I was like, meh, I don't know. But then I'm like, you know what? I love the quality of Lime Crime, so I'm going to pick it up. So there she is. She looks bland to me, but she's actually very, very spring-esque. I feel like you can wear these in the fall as well. They're very soft, seafoam green, muted greens, pale greens, browns, oranges, golds. It's very, an interesting palette I've never seen before. So I'm not one to really pick up something like this, but I feel like it's going to go with my hair, so my hair's fading pretty bad. As you can see, it looks very choppy. But I'm feeling this. I wanted to get it, and I got it with my points because it was available on Ulta.com, and I used all my points to get this palette, so I'm very excited. So let's do some swatches for you, so that way you can kind of see more or less what this palette entails, what it looks like. Are they soft? Because I want to touch them. I just want to get a feel for them. I know what kind of quality shadow I want, something very soft, something very creamy, something that'll blend really well. So I'm going to do the swatches to see how pigmented they are, and then of course the performance on the eye is going to be pretty much what's going to tell me if it's good or not. I'm starting from the top of the palette, In Bloom. Oh wow, that is pretty creamy. As you can see, it's kind of like a muted pinky brown. Crown, which is a shimmer, kind of pale gold, not as pigmented. It's almost like those colors that give a wash of sparkle. And then this one is Sage. This one is like a matte, kind of like cool green. Wow, it's like a grayish green. It's interesting. I've never seen a color like that. And then this one is called Thorn. So that is a metallic kind of like taupey color. So there's the first 4 shades. Next shade is Ripe, which I think would be a very excellent transition color. And boy, is it pigmented. Look at that. And I didn't even dig in there that much. That's a very pigmented color. All right, next shade is Forbidden. Oh wow, that's a beautiful gold. Very pretty gold. It's almost like a peachy gold. Next shade is Stella, which is a kind of like a satin pale gold. Then Myth. This one's an interesting color. Check it out. It's like a metallic, it's like Sage, but more brighter and more metallic. Very pretty, like a metallic light green. Next shade is Eve. There's Eve right there. Sorry, I have like a scratch right there, so I probably shouldn't have swatched it right there. This one's very pretty. It's a rose gold shade. And then the last shade here that I've swatched is Laurel. And that one's interesting. It's like a greenish gold. Very interesting. Alright, so the next shade is called Radiant. This one I'm excited about because it's that kind of like reflect. It's a pale white with a little bit of like a peach reflect on it. Ivy, which is a more metallic like sage green. It's similar to Myth, except Myth is more sparkly and more, I feel, cooler because this has a little bit of gold in it. Then there's West, which is that beautiful dark metallic brown, like a coppery brown. Obscure. This one was interesting because this is a matte pale green, and this one does feel a little bit stiff in the pan. Not bad, but it's a pale green, so I'm interested in that one. Next 4 shades, and these are going to be the last 4 shades. Mystic, which is like a kind of muted gold. And then Phoenix, which is a true copper gold. And then we have Locust, which is, it's interesting. It looks sage in the pan, but it has that brown reflect to it. Do you see it? It's almost like that, what is it called, blue brown from MAC. But except it's brown based with green, with like that sage green. then the last shade is Classical, which is a matte brown. So there you go. There is all the colors from the Venus XL2 palette. Let's get in. I'm going to zoom you in, and we're going to see how it performs. Priming as always with my Luscious Angel Eyes. I've been liking this primer for any kind of eyeshadow looks. I'm curious because, sorry, I was putting on my other eye. I'm curious because usually if I use more matte colors, I typically want to go with more moisturizing. Like, I don't want it to be chalky. That's what I'm afraid of. All right, so that's primed. Well, there's no setting color. Like, you know, just like in the Venus XL, it's, what is it called? It's like a vanilla shade. You know, my vanilla shade. I don't have one in this one. So I'm going to go ahead straight in with Obscure, which is this beautiful matte green, light pale green. And I'm just going to pop that into the crease immediately. And as you can see, it's pretty pale. Wow. Super pale, interesting color. Something I wouldn't go for, but let's see what happens. So now I want to go in with Ripe. I know this is kind of like very different from what I intended. I just really wanted to see what Obscure looked like. So I'm going to go straight into Ripe, which is more of a darker transition shade. I feel like it's a little too dark, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious. I'm actually going to concentrate it more on the outer portion of my eye. I'm sorry, my camera went blurry. It's almost like a mustardy brown. Interesting. It's very pigmented. I'm kind of liking this. I'm kind of liking the way the contrast of the green and the brown look. I'm going to keep going with that brown theme on the outer portion of my eye. I'm going to take Classical, which is that darker brown. I want to take more of a concentrated brush so I can focus it on the outer portion of my lid. And I'm just going to kind of place it on the outer corner. And do you guys like when I talk through like this so that way you know exactly what I'm doing and not just doing a voiceover? Let me know in the comments below. So I kind of like this format. I kind of like it. So I'm just placing it where I want it to go. Then I'll take Ripe again, which is that matte brown, the lighter brown that I put on the outer portion. And I'm just going to buff it on those edges to soften it up. And don't worry about being messy here because I always clean it up. That's just my method. And I just noticed Obscure, I don't know if you can see it on camera, it's more of a satin than it is a matte. But I like this effect. I'm kind of liking that effect. It's something I've never tried before. So I like to get messy with my buffing here because I clean it up anyways. And then I'm going to go back into Classical and just deepen that a little bit more. But you kind of see that green shimmer peeking through, so I'm kind of liking the way that went. I'm just kind of placing, grabbing that crease shade again, and then blending out the edges. Just want it to be really brown on the edges. Perfect. Messy. Don't worry, it'll get better. All right, so I feel like I need to start with the green now. I really want to use Laurel, which is this shade right here. I really want to use that one. I'm not sure if I want to use my finger or if I want to use a brush. Let's go ahead and try it with a brush. So I'm going to just take this small little precision brush from Morphe. It's the M421. And I'm just going to grab it and place it. Oh, okay, so I kind of want to concentrate it in the middle because it's more brown, more like brown gold, so I don't really want to take away from that green that I've got going on my crease. I love how these are really playing well together. So I'm cleaning off my brush and I'm going to pick up Ivy, which is this shade right here, and I'm going to concentrate this more on the inner portion. I want that green to really be in the inner portion of my eye. Perfect. And then that shade of Obscure, I didn't realize how like metallic it's looking, so I'm just going to kind of enhance that a little more by putting a little bit more right here. And then I really want to grab like a cleaner blending brush and pick up In Bloom, which is this shade right here. Pick up that. It's a little bit more on the peachy pink side. So I'm just going to kind of marry the colors together. I want that neutral transition. Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to block. I'm so sorry. I get so concentrated on this. I'm like, ooh, I'm liking this. And then I forget that I'm filming. So far it's interesting. On camera it looks interesting. In person it looks way better. So I feel like I need to pick up more of Classical, which is that darker brown. And I'm just going to pull it more in and make it more prominent because I feel like that's going to really contrast everything together. And this is something I've never would have dreamed of doing or creating. So I'm very interested in why, I don't know, I'm loving it. I've never tried this before. So, okay, so I'm going to blend out those shades with my blending brush. I'm just going to kind of soften that a little bit. On camera it does look a little choppy, but in person it's really not. I feel like the camera kind of makes it worse than what it actually is in real life. Okay, I do need a brow bone highlight, so I want to use Radiant, which is this white right here. Mind you, it does have that shift, so it's going to have a shift in my brow bone. But I want that because it kind of goes with the brown, it goes with the green, it just kind of marries the whole look together. And forgive me for my brow hairs, I do need a wax, so I will be getting that soon. I like that. Alright, so I have to finish my makeup off camera so that I've done most of my face off camera. As you can see, I have a space on my brow. I wanted to put some color from the palette there. Very nice. It's actually very pretty. So I really want to use some other shades from the palette. I want to use as much as I can. Oh, what's screaming to me? Oh, I want to use Sage for sure, which is that true sage color. I want to use Phoenix. I don't know. So we'll do this. We'll use West, which is this darker brown. I know it seems kind of typical, but I want everything to tie in together. So I'm just going to go in and put West right on the outer corner. Very metallic. And then I'll clean off my brush and I want to put, do I want to put Phoenix? Nah, I want to use Myth. Myth is this shade right here. Ooh, that's really pretty. Almost wanted to use that on the inner corner. Alright, so I really want to pick up Sage, which is this shade right here. This interests me deeply. And I'm going to buff it out. Since this is a matte shade, I really want to, like, sorry, I didn't mean to block you guys. I really wanted to buff it out. And just kind of, I did have some fallout. A little weird there. And then I'll go back in and kind of deepen those shades. I really want West to stick out. And then I really want to pick up Myth more. Just kind of soften that like that. I do want to put something on this outer portion. So I want to use Phoenix, but then I do want to use, oh my gosh, there's so many colors in here, I don't know. I want to use Eve. Okay, we'll use Eve, which is that rose gold right there. I feel like that's a color that's not in this color story here, so I want to kind of like make it known. Ooh, I do like that. A little pop of something. Alright, so I do need something in my brows, so I really do want to use something that I haven't tried. Alright, so grabbing a brush. Do I want to use Phoenix? No, let's use Locust. We haven't used this one. So we'll use Locust. Sorry, I want to try and use the entire palette all at once, but it's very hard when they're big palettes like these. Ooh, I like that. I really do, because it almost looks like a natural color in my brows, but it has that shift to it. Ooh, I like that. Okay, last but not least, we need that inner corner highlight. Alright, so the inner corner highlight, I'm going to use Crown, which is this shade right here. And we're going to pop that with my finger on the inner portion of my eye. Yes, I like that. Perfect. Alright, so I'm actually going to finish my eyes off camera, let you know my overall thoughts on the actual palette, and let's see what you guys think of the overall look. Alright, so I finished my look. I didn't put any highlight, well, I did put a little bit of highlight on, but I was kind of like thinking, I wonder what Obscure would look like as a highlight. So I'm going to grab my little M510 Morphe brush, dip into Obscure, and I'm just going to, ooh, yeah, see, I like that. So if you're not sure what, like, this is a nice, like, pale green highlighter. So if you're looking for a green highlighter, Obscure will be that one. I'm actually wearing the liquid lipstick from Lime Crime in Saddle. I felt like it tied really well with the look. I really, really like this. I do. It's not something I would go for, but I love that bright, like, Obscure up here into the crease. It blended really well. It was it's a very different palette from what I own, so definitely this is polar opposite of Venus 1, the XL1. It's so opposite of that, but it kind of has that really soft, almost summery, spring, fairy appeal to it. That's what I love about it. It has that very beautiful fairy appeal, woodland fairy appeal. So I'm digging that. I really am. So overall, I really like this palette. Very interesting, very gorgeous. I feel like my eyes look very ethereal. I'm loving this. I really am. So if you haven't picked up the Venus XL palette and you're looking for something very, very interesting, very different from what you have, I feel like a lot of eyeshadow palettes that come out are oranges, warm tones, reds, cranberries. There's even like browns with sapphires, which is really nice for, I feel like that's a little bit more fall-esque in winter. This one is very, very spring summer, so I'm super excited that this palette is so different from what I've seen on the market lately. I really like that green highlighter. It looks good. So yes, I would totally, if you haven't picked this up, I would recommend you pick it up either from the Lime Crime website or even Ulta.com carries it now. And they also have the glosses. I have not tried the wet glosses yet. I'm not much of a gloss girl, but I do love their liquid lipsticks. So Saddle is one of my favorite colors because it's almost like Plath from Kat Von D, but it's a little bit more on the oranger side of it, so it's just marries really well with this look, and I've been dying to wear it. I haven't worn my Lime Crime in a while. I do love their plushies. Those are very good light wear, like it's light feeling liquid lipsticks. They're not as opaque as a liquid lipstick, but they're very soft. So if you're looking for a soft liquid lipstick, I definitely recommend it. But if you have points at Ulta and you don't know what to buy and you are in the market for something unique and different, I would definitely recommend getting the Venus XL too. So thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope you love this tutorial or not tutorial, but try on, and I hope you guys enjoy your day. I need to get my hair refreshed, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.